Hello and welcome back to an awfully happy David67 doing a wee update on Celtic's weekend, the implications of that surprise result yesterday in Dingwall, and one or two other wee pieces of news regarding Celtic transfers, the fixture at the weekend, and also a few quotes from Celtic's players subsequent to the 3-0 win against St Mirren, and also we update on injuries for the Celtic players. Before we crack on with the video, please do, if you are new to the channel and you enjoy today's video and enjoy the range of content on the channel, please do click that subscribe button, get the numbers pushing past 460 towards 500, which is my current target. Now, and also if you do like the video, again, please click that like button. It does help circulate the videos to more and more Celtic fans and more football fans. And as always, do pop your comments in the comment section. Please keep them, if you can, pleasant, polite, informative, and we can have a nice wee chat, debate, discussion regarding Celtic, the weeks ahead, etc. So, did a wee video yesterday of post-match reaction to Celtic's 3-0 win. Slightly nervy performance in the first half. However, in the second half, Celtic came out almost like a different team. They had the win behind them. They played with a lot of pace, confidence, attack, and scored 3 very good goals. My joint men of the match were Rio Hatate and Mikey Johnston, with Matt O'Riley close behind. And having a look at all the various different rating sites, Johnston and Hatate were pushing high 8s and up to 9s, with Matt O'Riley a wee bit behind. None of the Celtic players got particularly low ratings. Paolo Bernardo, Tomoki Iwata, possibly at the lower end of the Celtic players. On Saturday against St Mirren, I think a wee bit unfair on Tomoki Iwata. I think a lot of the good things that he does as part of the team kind of go unseen. He does a lot of mopping up, a lot of linking, and a lot of the kind of work that no one particularly pays attention to. But if he wasn't doing those things, I think the back four would be a lot more harassed and pressed, and the ball wouldn't be getting out of our defensive third through the midfield, out wide, and up to the attacking players. Now, a few people have been quite critical of Greg Taylor. I think that's a wee bit harsh, given the fact that St Mirren had 2 shots in the whole game, neither shot on goal, and in the second half, St Mirren had no shots at all. They were citing a ball over the top around about the 44th, 45th minute, where Greg Taylor was out of position. I think it was one of these unfortunate ones. Taylor had come forward to support the attack, giving support to Yang out on the left. The ball was lost. St Mirren, through Gogic, got the ball forward quickly. Then ball over the top, caught in the wind, and the St Mirren striker got into Celtic's defence. For me, it was Mike Navrocki who actually probably was to blame. He should really have been covering in behind Greg Taylor, having gone forward. Happily, Cameron Carter-Vickers had pulled across to cover in behind Mike Navrocki, and he managed to crowd out the St Mirren striker, who ballooned the ball miles over the bar. And it was a wee bit harsh criticising Greg Taylor. I know he isn't the flavour of the month. He isn't everybody's favourite left back. I think he does a good job for Celtic. I think obviously that's one position we really do need to improve next season. But I think Greg Taylor does, for the most part, a good job. His lack of height can be a factor, and he certainly can get caught out of position and beaten for pace. But I think on Saturday he did a fine job throughout the whole game, and Celtic's back four and Joe Hart actually looked stronger and better and more organised than they have for several weeks, which for me is actually due to the fact that Liam Scales was out injured. I personally would like to see Mike Nawrocki carrying on as left-sided centre-back for the remainder of the season, with Liam Scales on the bench. Liam Scales obviously providing cover for centre-back and for left-back, and also can play a good job left-sided midfield, or even central defensive midfield. So I think Scales on the bench, once he's fully fit, should be a good option for Celtic. Speaking of Liam Scales, Brendan Rodgers does seem quite confident that Scales should be back fit for the squad on Saturday against Aberdeen, which will be live on BBC and Viaplay. The Cup semi-final against Aberdeen, which is a 12:30 kickoff. Dyson Maida, I think we have to admit, and is out for the season. As much as we'd love to see him back, given the nature of his injury, I can't see him back before the end of the season, and at the very best he might be back for the last league fixture and the cup final if we get to the cup final. Talking of the post-split fixtures, obviously the 3-2 win for Ross County at Dingwall over Rangers has very much changed the landscape of the title race. Rangers now 4 points behind us. They've now only got one game in hand, which will be against Dundee, hopefully at Dens Park on Wednesday. The forecast for Dundee and the east coast of Scotland, where I live, is good for the next few days of the week, and it's hoped that the Dundee area will be dry on Tuesday and Wednesday, allowing the game to go ahead as planned at Dens Park on Wednesday. Dundee qualify for the top six, and Dundee do have plenty of things to play for in the post-split fixtures, and obviously also in the game against Rangers on Wednesday, as they and St Mirren are locked in a battle for fifth place, which might well attract European Conference League qualifier status as well. Now, I didn't watch the Rangers game live. I'm not in the habit of watching Rangers games live, but I was keeping a wee eye on the updates on the BBC Sports site. When I last checked, Rangers had gone ahead 1-0 due to a rather lucky own goal by the Ross County defender Baldwin, and it looked like, although Ross County were trying their hardest, it looked like Rangers were going to win quite comfortably. Happily, when I looked again about an hour later, I was rather surprised to see Ross County had gone 3-1 up with about 15 minutes to go, and I did say to the other people in the house with me that I thought there's a good chance Rangers are going to get back into this 3-3 or even 4-3, and was predicting maybe a couple of penalties, a dodgy red card, a few VAR controversies to get Rangers back into the game. Lo and behold, a few minutes later, a rather soft penalty for handball against the Ross County defender. James Tavernier puts the ball in the net. Happily, Ross County held on for a deserved 3-2 win, and certainly it did look from the highlights I watched later on in the day that Rangers were slow, lacking confidence, not fit, and not up for the game mentally or physically. and were outplayed, outfought, out everythinged by Ross County. And it does suggest that a mixture of the pressure of having to come from behind, pressure knowing that they have to be pretty much perfect in all their 7 games, plus I think a few injuries catching up with the team, some of the players playing not being fully match fit, and maybe some of the players playing also who are rather fatigued. And happily, Ross County did us a favour, and I can see Dundee also doing us a wee favour on Wednesday, giving us an even better gap going into the last 5 fixtures. However, at the very worst, it's going to be that we're going to be 1 point ahead of our big rivals going into the last 5 games. 3 games will be at home, 2 games will be away. It's not certain when the Rangers fixture will be, and it would appear that the league have decided not to calculate and work out what the 5 fixtures are going to be until all the games are completed, which will of course be Wednesday evening. And so I suspect it will be Thursday or more likely Friday before we know who we're playing in the first game after the split and what the makeup will be of our 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, although highly likely, with the way things have been over recent years, that the Rangers game at Celtic Park will be the 2nd game, as the league and Sky Sports tend to not want, and the police don't tend to want, the game against Rangers to be the title decider or a game in which the title can be won. And so highly likely it's going to be game number 2 rather than 3 or 5 or 1. 4th game usually is a midweek fixture, and again, that doesn't tend to be a Rangers match. So lots of good omens for Celtic, lots of confidence for Celtic, and certainly Joe Hart, Brendan Rodgers and Alistair Johnston all in interviews and press conferences, etc. after the match, full of praise for their teammates, full of praise for the players, kind of saying we're going to concentrate on 1 game at a time, concentrate on ourselves, play to the best of our ability, play as a team. And the feeling was from Hart and Rodgers and Johnston that if Celtic play at their best, they're going to be too strong for everybody. I think the games against Hearts and Kilmarnock will be difficult. In particular, the game against Rangers obviously will be a difficult game as well. There's a good chance all 3 of those games will be at home. Well, that's yet to be confirmed, with the 2 away games being Dundee and St Mirren, which is a little bit more in our favour again. And so fingers crossed everything pans out well for Celtic. Now, as I said, just a few wee bits of news. It's been confirmed the referee for our Cup semi-final against Aberdeen on Saturday will be Don Robertson, assisted by Greg Aitken in VAR. I don't remember any particular controversies with Greg Aitken as VAR, but obviously Don Robertson was the referee for the Hearts game, which was rather controversial, although that was largely John Beaton's VAR decisions rather than Robertson, whose decisions for me on the pitch were correct for all the 3 big decisions. News also that Man United are very actively pursuing Matt O'Riley as a transfer target for the summer, with a bid of 25 to 30 million being lined up, which I think would be good value for Matt O'Riley. Uncertain as to whether Atletico Madrid will come back in. Their offer in the winter transfer window was initially thought to be 20 million, but it now appears it was in fact 18 million plus add-ons. And speaking of add-ons, there appears to be a lot of speculation regarding the ex-Celtic right-back Jeremy Frimpong, who's had a brilliant season in the Bundesliga for Leverkusen. He's been linked many, many times to the top European clubs in Italy and primarily in England, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, etc. And Celtic are due a 30% sell-on clause fee for Jeremy Frimpong, which could turn out to be 12 to 15 million pounds, as Frimpong now is being valued between 40 and 50 million euros, and so 12 to 15 million would be a very nice addition to our transfer kitty. And one last bit of transfer rumour is that West Bromwich Albion appear willing to pay £10 million for Mikey Johnston as a permanent transfer in the summer. Johnston, of course, has had a very patchy in and out career with Celtic, never really progressing as expected. Considerable time out injured, and lots of very poor substandard performances, with the odd spark of brilliance, and his two goals in the Boxing Day win over Dundee have been an important factor for the season. He's gone off on loan to West Brom, had an excellent spell with them. He was the English Championship Player of the Month for March, and the stories coming out of West Brom are that they are lining up a 10 million bid for Mikey Johnston in the summer, and I think Celtic would bite their hand off to get 10 million from Mikey Johnston. And I'm not so convinced that Brendan Rodgers wants Johnston back in his squad, despite what he was saying in the Friday press conference. And so that just about finishes things off for today. If you have enjoyed the video, please do think about subscribing to the channel, clicking the like button, and popping your pleasant, polite, constructive, informative comments in the comment section. We'll be doing further videos this week, depends on how things pan out in terms of Celtic news, etc., and any players coming forward as players that Celtic are looking at or targeting for transfer. And so until later in the week, thanks for watching, goodbye, and hail, hail.